and welcome to the Cancer Journey podcast. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sherry Ann. Welcome back.
So let's start with our pest check-in. Sherry Ann, do you want to start?
Sure. So physically, I am at 8.3. Emotionally, 9. Spirit, 9.2. Hope, 9.3. And my word is bright.
Right.
How about you?
Physically, I am an 8.5. Emotionally, I am a 7. Spiritually, I'm a 6.5, and my hope is an 8, and my word is, well, edgy.
Okay. So let's just jump in. So what's been really present is strengths and how we're a strengths-based company, but I don't think that people understand or really know what we mean when we say that.
Mm-hmm.
So you wanna start us off?
Yeah, so when we say strengths, we're specifically referring to the Clifton strengths. They were derived from Don Clifton's study. He was a psychologist, and he has, I believe it's the only study that's been called positive psychology. And it starts with an assessment that you take. It's a 45-minute assessment, and it ranks all 34 strengths. So we all have every single one of these 34 strengths. They're just in a different order for each of us. So you have your top 5, your top 10, and then you also have like your bottom strengths. Your bottom strengths aren't necessarily things that you're not, that you don't have. They're just your non-strengths. You just don't lead with them. So you may have heard us talk about strengths and values. So we have all of our participants and our clients take the assessment. And so that way we can better understand the perspective they're coming from that maybe they don't even realize right away.
Yes. And it is so important to us because I've taken a lot of personality assessments. I mean, all the way from horoscopes to strengths. And I think it's a wide swath. And I like those things. I think it gives us more insight into who we are. But what I like about the Clifton strengths particularly is that it's so unique to the individual. And I love this statistic. Your top 5, which we often focus on with our clients, the statistics of having somebody else having the exact same 5 top strengths in the exact order that you do is 1 in 33 million, which I think is pretty astronomical. There's only 34 strengths, and yet it creates that uniqueness of me. And it's not that, okay, not all have, I might have strategic and somebody else has strategic. It's not that my strategic is the same as that person's strategic. It is influenced by the other strengths that are around my strengths. So it really does have this uniqueness.
Absolutely. I would say also like the way that they all interplay, like you said, is really, it really varies person to person, but also just because you have a strength doesn't mean like, okay, I have it, it's in my arsenal, done. It's a spectrum on many different levels. You can be balcony or basement, which is kind of talks about how in tune you are with that strength or how you're utilizing it or how it's showing up for you. It's not always going to be exactly the same. It changes based on like the experience you're having, the place that you're in, like in your life, the lifestyle you have, and how aware you are of it as a strength, right? Because say my number 1 strength is command, and it can come off as very intense to some people, or maybe at a different point in my life when I'm less aware of how it's showing up, it's intense and maybe a little domineering. And that's how it's coming off. Whereas in other times when I'm a little more in tune with it, it actually comes as like a really gentle leader, very understanding. And both can exist, but it changes, it varies throughout our lives and how much we work on it and how much we notice that we're using it. And like you said, it comes into play with all the other ones. I have deliberative as my second strength, and that it's what we call a decelerator. Some strengths are accelerators, some are decelerators, and some are neutral. But deliberative is very much a decelerator. One of our coaches and program leaders, Mary, who's amazing, complete expert with strengths, she would call it like it's putting the brakes on, is how a decelerator feels energetically. So while my command maybe has me moving to the next step and kind of leading this group forward, my deliberative is going, oh, hold on, what risks are coming up for us here? So I like to think of all of my strengths having a different voice.
I can totally relate to having a different voice. When I've I've been working with Clifton Strengths for over 25 years now. I am always learning, because what I thought was this really simple assessment and just, oh, look, here's my, top 5, my top 10. I keep learning the depth and the breadth that this tool actually has. And that's why it's so used by the Cancer Journey Institute, and one of my favorite tools for us to create a base of knowingness, a foundation of who I am. And it's not just the strengths. We combine strengths with our values. We combine strengths with our purpose. And so we have a really strong understanding of who we are, so that when things get tough, and life does, but in particularly on a cancer journey and after, there were a lot of unknowns and unexpected situations and circumstances. That's true about life in general, but it seems like it's exemplified or it's exacerbated when somebody is on a cancer journey. And so having those available for us to lean into, because it's so much easier to lean into than trying to be something that you're not. It's like, just lean into you. And you mentioned your number 1 and your number 2. And my number 1 is positivity, which, if you've watched any of our podcast episodes, you'll know it just kind of comes out of my pores. But I didn't like it when I first got my assessment results. It's like, positivity? What use is that? I mean, I really dismissed and discounted it because I perceived it as what you were talking about, the basement and the balcony. I construed it as Pollyanna, and ooh, look, she's always looking like, look over here, lollipops and sunshine, where that's not the balcony of positivity. And so I've learned to come to terms. Really, I've learned to love my positivity. And my number 2 strength is activator. So it's like, yay, I'm so happy. Let's go. And when you said my strengths have like different personas, if you can imagine, like, yay, positivity, and let's go.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that the strengths are so important because they tell us so much more than just who we are. They tell us about how we approach things. So they have like what we need and what we contribute to any given situation. They talk about what we love and what we hate, and what it feels like if it's a little bit more of a immature, for lack of a better term, strength, just like a fresher, maybe less aware versus a more mature, more aware approach to that strength and how it'll show up. And even just contrasting strengths, right? Ones that play off one another. So that's something that we have baked into a lot of our curriculum, both for our trainees who are becoming coaches and for our existing coaches who want more depth in their coaching practice and to share with their clients. And it gives us
Yeah.
something to really see and understand and more deeply connect to people. Something we say over and over with the strength specifically is that it's not treat others the way we want to be treated. It's treat others the way they want to be treated.
Yeah. Which is so fascinating, that statement, because we're so used to the golden rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
which was treat others as you want them to treat you, which I think it's still good, but to really get into the skin of your client and to be of the most service. I think it's, again, especially on a cancer journey, when we're so, how do I want to say this? When the patient is really focused on their physical
Mm-hmm.
and not so much embracing their feelings or their thoughts, their mindset, or even how alive their spirit is. It's like, no, 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 I've got to heal my body. I've got to take care of my body.
Mm-hmm.
But the strength to really focus on who's there inside, that being person, and how you address situations and what resources are automatically there because
Mm-hmm.
they're your talent, and then you make them strengths, you make them stronger by really leaning into them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. As people are on their cancer journeys, it's really easy to feel helpless and resourceless and just tunnel visioned into this literally what's here right now is all I can focus on. That's all I have. And um that's all I can do. And I mean, obviously that's a very limiting mindset, and it's easy to understand how someone could be in that mindset when they're on a cancer journey. But what we do and the work we do really kind of expands that vision. It's not about what resources you literally have in your hands, but it's more about the ones that are internal, your internal resources that are there. And when people are saying that they don't feel strong in themselves, and it makes it really hard for them to feel alive, strengths and values and finding your purpose really, really help, I think, with feeling just strong in who you are in your body, really realizing what natural gifts that you give, and the energy you share with everyone who's around you. And it gives people a purpose to fight for their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it makes so much sense for us to have that as a tool that we use to work with our clients. And of course, I have seen the impact that it has, and that's why I like it as a foundation for a coaching relationship. And what I really like is how we bring strengths into as a company, as a community, as a group that works together, where I'm obviously positivity and activator, and we're just talking about the top two, and your command and deliberative. I mean, they're very different. And
Mm-hmm.
yet to create like a wholeness, especially in the company, it's really nice that we're different.
Mm-hmm.
I get that it feels good to hang out with people who are, similar to you. So, get a bunch of positive people in a room and we're just like buzzing. But that doesn't get things accomplished necessarily. Or we're really embracing people coming in and honoring their uniqueness. And we're creating a whole container where I kind of think of it as a circle where we're all holding hands, but we've got different strengths and it complements each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So something that our coach Mary also says is that opposites attract except at work. And it's interesting because obviously with the strengths, it's not about knowing your strengths and only find people who have the exact same strengths as you, right? It's about embracing your strengths, knowing what they mean to you, but also opening up that viewpoint to see, to really appreciate people who have other strengths and what those other strengths can do. And it breeds a lot of really beautiful compassion for like what you don't have. Like I do not have focus really high up in my strengths list, but the outcomes that I appreciate about people who do have focus, I can access with a mix of what strengths I have. But sometimes it's like if someone with focus just came along and jumped in here and was with us, I would really appreciate like that strength that they have and the qualities that they bring that I maybe don't necessarily bring naturally myself, or just that perspective that they come from naturally, that they don't even have to, like arrange some of their other strength. They're just like, got it. I know exactly what it is. I'm right on that trajectory. So we get to appreciate our own strengths and the strengths of other people and how they really impact us all together as a unit.
Right. And to add to that, I mean, I always thought, okay, so if I don't have focus, I need to go find somebody with focus and bring them into the team. But what we've learned from our master Mary is that we use our strengths to reach a goal. And if the goal is, I need to focus and get this project done, or I need to focus, it's like, what do I have available in my resources, my strengths, particularly my top 10, that I can actually aim to get to that goal? So it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be focused, though. For somebody who has focus, it's that's their thing. Great. But if it's not there, we still get to do that and still get to have that outcome, but we just do it in a different pathway. And
Yeah.
so let me think for a moment. If I were to reach into my bag of strengths, I would say Maximizer would help me focus and get to that goal.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. And the strengths are so much more than the word that they're
Sure.
stated as. I know sometimes that does cause a lot of confusion. They're like, you don't seem very commanding. And I'm like, it's not necessarily just the word. There's this huge definition and experience that comes behind it that's more than just that single word, right? Like people often think, oh, I have communication high. That means I'm really good at communicating. Not necessarily. It's not necessarily what it means. But that's also what I love about strengths is that like there's this whole world behind each of those words. And I love that what we do is we get to use strengths as a language. We get to use it as a language to better understand and deeply connect with our entire community, our coaches, our clients, everyone we can just hold hands with, like those become the people who like speak the language with us, even if they are just getting bits and pieces of it. Like I know that one of our coaches has woo at number one and we talk about him all the time and we're like, oh yeah, just it's his woo. And so it's something that becomes really fun to communicate to people with and like share with them because they also, I find that people also want to better understand themselves and where they're coming from and where we're coming from. And it's a really beautiful tool to like more deeply connect and see the world through someone else's lens.
Yeah. And the best part is not only do you get with our programs, and I kind of feel like I'm doing a little commercial here, and I am. And that is that we do incorporate strengths into our curriculum. So you do get not the full training, but enough that it allows you to use it, truly use it to the advantage of us ourselves when we're in the coach space, us when we're in the world to reach a goal, and then helping our clients do that too, which just makes for a really robust program.
Yes. And I think what makes us so strength based in our curriculum is that we bake the strengths and we just talk about them, and it's this immersive kind of quality that it has because even if you don't know every little detail of strengths, you haven't gone through that advanced training to kind of get all the minute details, you still can speak strengths and you can still understand what your own report is coming out as and what your top five are and where you're coming from without doing that full thing. You can talk about it and notice how it's showing up for you even without feeling like you're an expert. You don't have to be an expert to speak the language.
That is so true. And it's a fun assessment. So I think this is a great place to pause. If anyone is interested in more about the Clifton strengths, check it out.
Okay, so let's do a takeaway and your word for right now. Sherry Ann, you want to go ahead?
I think so. My takeaway is, well, I'm in love with strengths, and the more that I talk about it, the more I fall in love with it. And that it really allows me to be individually me. That's my takeaway. And my word is, oh, I just came up with special. Thank you. How about you? Takeaway in a word.
My takeaway is that I mean I love seeing strengths as a language, and it gives so much compassion and patience for myself and others, which is like huge. I think it's really hard to see inside and outside and have compassion for everything that's there without being like, why is it this way or that way? So it gives me a lot of like calm compassion. And my word for right now is seen.
Well, thank you for being with us. Remember, you're more powerful than you realize, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.